Ladies and gentlemen, now we have reached the next segment, which is a very invigorating panel discussion. We're going to throw light and discuss on the topic of storage at scale, the missing link in India's energy transition. Before I invite the elite set of panelists, I would like to invite the moderator on stage who will be responsible for extracting all the important information from our panelists. Please help me in welcoming the analyst from the Anand Rathi team, Miss Shweta Jain. Ma'am, very, very warm welcome to you. She's going to be moderating this very, very important segment. Now I'd like to introduce the panelists to this audience. We have here with us our first panelist, who is the president of the India Energy Storage Alliance, also known as IESA, a leading industry alliance hastening the growth of advanced energy storage, electric mobility, and green technologies in India. He brings with him a wealth of experience in the energy and sustainability sectors with a very deep commitment to accelerating India's transition towards clean energy and net zero goals. Please help me in welcoming Mr. Deb Malya Sen. Very, very warm welcome to you, sir. I would like to introduce the other panelist to this audience. We have here with us the founder and managing director of Advait Energy, the pioneer member at the forefront of India's renewable energy and clean technology revolution, a dynamic entrepreneur and innovator. He has been truly instrumental in driving advancements in sustainable energy solutions with a notable contribution to India's vision of a cleaner, more self-reliant energy future. Please help me in welcoming Mr. Shalin Sheth. Very warm welcome to you, sir. And with that, I hand it over to Ms. Shweta.
So battery energy is no longer a buzzword. Actually, it's the backbone of how India will achieve its gigawatt hours of target with reliability in terms of renewable energy. Today, we have these two gentlemen who've seen this transition happening, and we'll see this transition happening from the industry inside out. Mr. Sen from the policy and the advocacy side of it, and Mr. Sheth actually doing it on the ground in terms of real-time projects. To start the session off, I would like to, ask Mr. Sen first his thoughts on how India will achieve or convert its gigawatt hours of targets into gigawatt hours of reliable source of energy form in terms of storage.
Thank you. Hello, everyone. Thanks for the invitation. So, we have a target. Our government had made a target at COP26 that India will have 500 gigawatts from non-fossil fuel energy by 2030. Now, in terms of sustainably integrating that into the grid, we need reliability. Now, renewables as a whole is variable, right? We cannot confirm that so much solar or so much wind will blow tomorrow. So that is where batteries or energy storage becomes very important. Now, India has been talking about two types of energy storage. One, of course, is batteries, and second is our prevalent energy storage system, that is pumped hydro. Now, when we talk about batteries, India has estimated that it will require 236 gigawatt hours of battery storage capacity by 2031-32. Where are we today? We are nowhere. So we just have installed capacity of 500 megawatt hours, right? So from nothing, you have to climb up to 236 gigawatt hours. So that is the limit. And we have been blessed that battery storage capacity, the cost of battery storage have come down significantly, all thanks to China and innovation. We have been seeing a significant drop in cost. And moreover that, government has come out with programs like Viability Gap Funding Scheme, where government is telling, I will be funding 30% of your project. In the first phase, that scheme was for 13.2 gigawatt hours. that is completely exhausted. The second VGF scheme has been launched where the government is saying, I will be funding 16% of your project, and that is for 30 gigawatt hours. Out of this 30, almost around 16 has been tendered out. So apart from VGF scheme, government has come out with energy storage obligation, wherein it is saying states that, hey, by 2030, 4% of energy requirement has to be through energy storage. Now, these are all demand enablers by which we can create demand for each of the states. And we have, so the opportunity comes even from solar. We have so much solar on the grid. What will we do? So the problem with India is managing its evening load. This year, we have been blessed by the monsoon. We haven't seen peak load increase to the tune at which peak load should have increased. But every year, we won't be blessed with monsoon like so much. So we need the peak load, and that is where storage comes in very powerful, that it stores solar or energy when you are not using it and dispatches it when you use it in the evening hours. Now, we find that that is the main use case by which tenders has been issued in India to manage that peak load requirement. And we have been seeing cost come down from 10.83 2 years back. JSW won the first tender of SECI at 10.83 rupees lakhs per megawatt per month, to coming down to 1.77, which was discovered in Rajasthan. Don't ask me how, though. So we have been scratching our heads. How is the tariff falling down so low? So yes, I think India is on track, but then we need much more of government support as well as players. And in talking of players, we have so many new players coming into this game, right? Solar plus storage and RE plus storage, we have been seeing the prevalent players in the renewable space, but in the standalone storage space, as of today, we have 44 players. Just imagine, 44 players coming into this game, and maximum of them have been new players. Yeah, thank you.
Talking about players, Mr. Sheth, even I would say you were one of the players there where we have plans to expand into BESS, the battery energy storage side of it. What is your view in terms of, taking everything in terms of the government policy and putting it on to the ground level work in terms of if you put on your operational lens to it?
Thank you very much to the founders of Anand Rathi for organizing such an eventful event. Thank you, Jain. Thank you, Debalia. I would like to speak with a perspective of investors, so that when we talk about the very detailed language that Debalia is talking about the numbers, so I'll try to integrate to understand the market opportunity for the people, and at the same time, what is going to happen. So, madam, your question is that what is your view about the market and the number of the entrants and the industry point of view? So I would like to start that this kind of industry which is being emerged, it is with a different combination. This is also having a lot of consideration of your government. The back of the mind is also the geopolitical situation, geopolitical consideration, your energy storage and energy security system. That is what's going to happen after 5 years and 10 years. With those considerations in mind, government has to think about energy security of the nation. And while it is also giving the requirement of the huge capex and requirement of the huge systems, that how we can provide sustainable and renewable power so that we don't need to import the fossil fuel. So it all goes ultimately back to that by 2030, 31, 32, how we can reduce the 50% of our fossil fuel requirement. That is the first target that government has taken. Because if India is going to continue the same way, and if we keep on importing the fossil fuel, I think our entire earning will go back in terms of foreign currency. So with this clarity, government has put up the energy storage obligation, ESO, what you said. So the current ESO is in the range of 0.5. that we are looking forward that how the ESO will go maybe up to 10% time ahead, but they have put an immediate target by 2030, the ESO should be increased about 0.5% per year of the total either generation, transmission or distribution. So if you just look at the ESO up to 4%, that is giving the mammoth requirement, and that will be in the range of about 300 to 400 gigawatt hours of capacity of the energy storage system to be installed in Indian energy grids. So that is giving again a target that how we can achieve, wherein, as he has said, that current installment is not even 0.1% of the requirement. So broadly, last year we had a target to do about 16 gigawatt hour. This year we are talking about a target of installing 26 gigawatt hour. This is going to again increase 20% next year, again increasing. So this will go up to 50 to 60 gigawatt hour of installation by 2030. In total, this will be about 350 to 400 gigawatt hours of installation by 2032. And by 47, when India is aiming to be a developed nation, this 400 gigawatt hour is going to be about 1600 gigawatt hour. So now how to do it? So like what happened in solar, we started with the paying or bidding with a very high tariff starting from 19 to 20 rupees per kilowatt hour. It finally reached up to 1.9 or 2.1, 2.2 rupees per kilowatt hour. Similarly with the batteries, we started with 10, and in Rajasthan, finally it was bidded with a tariff of 1.77 rupees per kilowatt hour per month. I would say from your perspective, the price is going down, is disadvantage to investors. Because the lot of competition, maybe undue, unfair competition. So as he said, there are more than 44 different players. So we would see that the intent of the investors, it is purely as an asset building or it is technology augmentation. So there are various views over there. I think this market in next 2 or 3 years will be consolidated. The price will be wavering. At the moment, your entire battery cells up to 100% is imported, and out of 100%, 95% is coming from China. Your entire BESS system, we can say up to 90% of entire system is coming from China. So this is all going as an advantage to your neighboring country. And a lot of policy will be framed in time ahead, and that too very quickly. So that will force Indian manufacturers and Indian systems to add the value in India. So I think we should not look at who are the players, because the players will keep on changing. Intent should be there to be here in a long term. And I think my view is that anybody who is into this segment should have the long-term view. That's all.
Absolutely. Talking about views, when we just briefly touched on the costs, where are we currently in terms of the cost curve of the entire manufacturing process? And what is your view first, Mr. Sen, on how do you see that panning out over the next 2 or 3 years?
I will take a little long shot for this answer. Now, when we talk about manufacturing and supply chain, we have various sectors which are involved in batteries. We have the mining sector, we have the processing sector, the component manufacturing, as well as the end use. If you look into the metals, lithium, cobalt, nickel, manganese have been the main metals. Now, if you look into the geography where they are situated, it is kind of very well spread out, okay, across the world. But this problem starts with processing. 90% of world's processing remains in China. So no matter where you mine your metals, you have to go back to China to process the metals. And that is where China's advantage starts. So it leads processing power. Therefore, obviously, it leads component manufacturing, that is cathode, anode, electrolyte manufacturing. Therefore, obviously, it leads the cell manufacturing capacity. 76% of world's manufacturing facility is in China. But what happened was, during 20 and 2021, the world saw a plethora of EVs on the road. So the EV demand increased significantly. So from 2020 to 2021, it increased by 111%. Now, everyone was talking about a supply-demand gap. Demand is so much, supply is not there. And we had so many players globally announcing manufacturing facility coming up. 2021 to 2022, EVs grew, but EVs grew by 66%. 2022 to 2023, EVs again grew, but grew by 23%. So the problem was there. So your demand from EVs did not rise to the tune of your expectations, giving up an oversupply market. As of today, China alone manufactures 2.4 times your demand. So that is, you have given rise to an oversupply market, and which has resulted in price drop. What we see, the cell cost are of around even 1 year back, which was around $110 per kilowatt hour. Today, we are finding that dropping to $35 per kilowatt hour. And China has been trying every tactics, stopping mines, stopping processing power to have this mismatch between supply and demand met, but nothing has been happening. So this is the situation. Now, obviously in China, there is an oligopoly market where 2-3 players, CATL, BYD, CLB, controls the market. 70% of market share just remains with these 3 players. So you understand, right? They are the kind of price makers. They can decide what cost it goes to. Now, India, at this scenario, India doesn't have mining facility. Okay, we have to look for partnerships. So we have been forming Kabul initiatives by which we have been reaching out to mining-rich countries like Congo, Indonesia, etc., to have a long-term contract on mines. But then that doesn't solve your case. You need to have developed processing power, because processing power, 90%, even if you mine, you have to send it to China to process it. And as soon as you send it, the story ends there. Right? So that is the problem. So what the government is now telling is, and government response has been very similar to what its response to solar was, maybe at 2x speed. Okay? So like we had ALMM, approved list of module manufacturers for solar, we are talking about approved list of battery manufacturers, ALBM, for storage. Government is saying, okay, you may not be able to make cells. I'm fine with it. But I will also try to integrate that in India. You get the cells from China, but then you make the rest in India. That is, you assemble the packs, the containers, the HVAC system, inverter, EMS, all of this, you do it in India. And if you go and take that also from China, I will put in a BCD on you. Okay, increase BCD on you. So that is what is the discussion going on at government level as of today. We have a significant amount of pack manufacturing facility which has been developed, and he will be saying you more. Today, as we see, we have around 20 to 30 gigawatt hour of pack manufacturing facility. And cell manufacturing facility, we had a PLI scheme for 18,100,000 crores coming out, which Reliance and Ola won. But till today, we are in 2025, fag end of 2025, we see that that facility has not been up and running. By all the announcements made by beyond PLI, like Amara Raja Exide, etc., India is to have a cell manufacturing capacity of around 140 gigawatt hours by 2030. Now, this is nowhere close to your demand. Okay, just stationary storage, I told you 236 gigawatt hours. Now, EVs added to that. It is nowhere close. So what we see is that by the end of the decade, some amount of domestication in terms of pack manufacturing facility will be possible. And thereon, we have to see how things turn up.
Mr. Sheth, what is your view on this Make in India attempt from the battery perspective, looking especially where we are looking at solar, that slowly the entire industry is into the backward integration mode now. Where and when do you see that to happen for the battery side as well?
My view is that in battery, up to 2022, India as a nation, we have missed the bus. We were knowing very well that what will be the energy requirement and what will be the energy obligation in terms of renewable is going to come in next 10 to 15 years. Our neighboring country, they started working on this requirement from 2004, 5 and 6. And they started talk about securing the lithium and cobalt from that point of time. So when we went to find out the lithium, almost no sources were available. So we missed the bus in terms of securing the lithium. And then we missed the bus in terms of securing the lithium processing capacity. That is the second part of the ecosystem. When we understood and when we made up the policy in 2021, 22, 23, still I would say that government has rightly came up with the Make in India scheme, with the PLI scheme, with the VGF scheme, with the ESO obligation, and making the clear-cut timeline that by so and so year we have to install so that we don't miss the second bus. So India is fortunate enough that we have got a very strong private ecosystem of industry that they normally comes very fast. As soon as you said we got more than 50 players which has come in last 2-3 years. So now we have the opportunity to start with first to do the forward onwards from the cell imports and then to go back to the manufacturing of the cell. And government is now actively also working for put up the lithium processing facility at 2 places in India. We have big players in India who can take about 30 to 40% of the total market. What we talk about, I think the total market investment requirement is about 2.5 lakh crores in terms of BESS, maybe about 1 lakh crores for the C&I applications. So it is about 3 to 4 lakh crores of investment required by 2030. If Make in India does not happen, then 60% will go to China. So I think it's a mammoth opportunity also for the Indian industry that how much part of this system will come back to the India. So I'm just trying to give in a very broad view. We need a very strong ecosystem for the startup system, which is happening. We have got, now I'm very happy to say that we, in India, government has come up that at least the energy storage system should be made from India. So we have got few firms, they are now fully reliable, and ESO is purely made in India. We have got some companies coming up for the container manufacturing. There are more than 50 to 20 companies who are putting up their plant, or some companies are already ready for the battery cell and pack manufacturer. And I'm sure that, as he said, by 2028 or 27, we'll be having the ramp up in cell manufacturing capacity. And this industry is further going to go up for about 10 years more. By 2040, I think it is going to up to 2040. So we'll be at a very commendable position by 2028-29. That's what I believe.
Coming to chemistries, we've seen the technology shifting prominently even in solar cell manufacturing side of it. How do the different chemistries on the battery manufacturing, do you think that they will coexist, or we'll directly move from LFPs to sodium nickel and that will sustain?
So when we talk about batteries, it's a big family, right? We of course talk about lithium-ion a lot because of the right reasons. But beyond lithium-ion also, we have other chemistries like vanadium flow, sodium-ion batteries, etc. 2 years back, when lithium was not so cheap as it is today, a discussion started, we need to have sodium-ion, okay? But I say that sodium-ion's life depends upon lithium-ion's innovation. What is happening is lithium-ion, and in it, a particular chemistry called LFP, lithium ferrous phosphate, has taken lead, okay? As of today, globally, LFP controls over 65% market share, against another 35% is controlled by NMC. its predecessor. So initially we had NMC altogether, but NMC had its cost competitiveness and as well as instability a bit. And it contained cobalt. Now cobalt, 70% of world's cobalt comes from Congo. Now Congo, you all know, so it's in a political volatile state. So every time Congo went for a political turmoil, the cost of cobalt will go up and down. So therefore, people were concerned about how we can change over, and NMC was predominantly used in electric vehicles. So therefore, we have today LFP as the mainstay chemistry. But even within LFP, we have tremendous amount of innovation going on. Okay, we have a chemistry called LMFP. They are doping manganese in LFP to increase its energy density. Now, what is energy density? Energy density is how much energy can you capture in how much amount of space or how much of weight. That becomes very important for electric vehicle. You need a battery which is as small, as light, but storing as much of energy. So that is what is needed for the electric vehicle. So that is where we are finding a lot of innovation. And while all this innovation has been happening on the cathode part, the anode has been predominantly graphite. That is changing. So graphite is changing to silicon. Graphite called graphene is over time changing to silicon, is over time changing to lithium. So what is happening is LFP itself is changing every day. It's innovating every day. Now for another chemistry to compete with this, it becomes very difficult. And you are already the market leader, so you can, of course. And telling that we find sodium ion getting around 5% of market share by 2030, not more than that. But even inside that, we have the cell capacity, one cell capacity, which was around 280 milliamperes even a year back. Today, we have around 314 milliamps. This is increasing to 1,000 milliamps by another year. So you see this is the kind of innovation. In a single container, 20-feet container, we would talk even 1 year back, 3 megawatt hour maximum would contain. Today, in a same 20-feet container, you are able to store 6 megawatt hour to 10 megawatt hour. Just imagine, what you could control in 3 containers, you are straight up reducing it to 1 container. This is also enabling in your cost reduction. So I will say that this decade at least will be LFPs. Next decade, maybe something will come up, but by the bounds LFP is innovating, it looks very difficult.
Wow, there's too much of change happening there. So, Mr. Sheth, when you actually start building up a project, when you go to government for tenders, how do you then factor in so many changes from a cost perspective? When you are putting, let's say, 1 gigawatt hour of battery at X amount of capex, when do you see that payback happening, number one? Number two would be, how does the fluctuations in the prices impact your tender costs?
Battery as a technology is going to witness a lot of changes in next 10 years. In the same way, it is also, if you look at the past, in last 10 years, it has evolved in terms of efficiency, in terms of energy density, in terms of flow intensity, and also in terms of techniques. It has changed a lot. So what we are witnessing now is going to again change in next 10 years. As Debalia said, that we are going to have the various shift towards the future requirement or the future supply of the batteries. So it may be flow battery or a sodium battery, or many different things are happening across the field. But application and implementation will take also enough time. So any call taken on the batteries in current market has to be about 4 to 5 years, because it is taking 4 to 5 years to take the shift. We are discussing about the solar, right? So what we started with about the crystalline cells, then we started with the mono cells, and then again it went back to the crystalline cells. So you know that where we are going to go, we don't know, because technology is going to evolve. It is going to restrict with the raw material supplies, and it's going to restrict with the manufacturing abilities. But if you look at the battery things, so we have got a 3 distinct application. One is the automobile, second is the BSS, and third is the C&I. when we talk about the BESS, the storage space is not the issue. So even with the battery with the lower energy density asking for the larger space, but giving the lower economic cost, जो सस्ता है वो बिकता है, so that is going to give a better economic efficiency and the payback ratio. So I think time ahead, BESS may be shifting to other form of batteries. But for automobile, I think there is no option available except lithium or maybe flow battery for the, at least for the next 5 to 7 years. If we talk about the costing, like the cost is purely depending on what price China want to sell. Am I right? So China is supplying at the moment what is their capacity, what is their domestic requirement, and how they want to rule the world. So it may happen that somebody is willing to put up the factory for the cell manufacturing. You may not get the latest technology of the equipments to manufacture the cell. And you may be witnessing the situation that you will be getting it after your tide is over. Your tide is going to be for next 5 years. So, some visionary leaders, they talk about getting those technology in time, putting installation in time. So those people will be the cost leaders. So we have to be watchful that who are getting the cell manufacturing capacities and when from where. There are some other countries who are also offering such equipment, especially from Japan, Korea, USA. And I think India is going to have more closer tie-up with those countries. And India is also going to evolve and uplift their own manufacturing technologies to convert the processed lithium to the cell. And that is where we'll be able to control the cost. Till the time, India is going to be a job worker. So we'll job work from cell to container, we'll job work from container to AC system, we'll job work for putting the money on the container, and we'll get the money from the banks, and we'll pay the rent, or we'll get the rent from the government. So, of course, it's a huge business, but a lot of innovation of financial modeling, manufacturing modeling, and supply chain is going to come. I believe the cost will be changing in next 2 to 3 years with a very close range, because we already achieved the bestest what we can achieve. So we should be watchful that cost should not go up. That's what I believe.
Taking cost into perspectives, like how does government issue the tenders? And I've seen, we've seen announcements of new tenders coming in and then even cancellations happening on the BESS front of it. Why do such cancellations happen in your view?
As of today, we have around 80 gigawatt of battery storage capacity tenders which are out of which 20 is under construction. 8 gigawatt hour has been cancelled. Now, these cancellations has been in the early years, in 21, 22. That time, no one knew what will work and what will not work. So people were blindly copying. If they saw a successful tender, people were blindly copying that tender. Okay. Now it has changed. Now people are understanding the system and doing due diligence before coming out with a tender. Okay. If you look into Madhya Pradesh solar plus storage tender, if you look into Rajasthan, they are now announcing an investor meet before release of a tender, which was happening after release of a tender. Now they are doing it from beforehand. So that is a welcome move, of course. Now, we haven't had seen cancellations on battery storage tender. So this year, 2025, we haven't seen a single cancellation. Okay, all blessings from VGF scheme. So we have around 37 gigawatt hour of battery storage capacity just tendered this year. Now, just imagine what is the capacity. So that is happening. Now, you may ask, okay, so much of tenders, why is not something coming up on ground? Now, the answer to it is we saw this graph uptick from 2023 onwards. So giving it 2 years' time for construction, everything to happen, we will see by 2026, the graph will start rising on commissioning of these projects. And so therefore so that has been the scenario, and cost also. Now, till today, it has been a top-down approach. Okay, central government saying the states that you need, I'm giving you VGF for 5 gigawatt hour, I'm giving you VGF for 6 gigawatt hour, you need to come up with a tender. Now, therefore, a state comes out with a tender. But this will be much more effective if it is a bottom-up approach. We talk about resource adequacy studies. Every state, if every state had done their resource adequacy studies, they would understand how much of energy storage they need in their grid. Giving an example from the state I come, West Bengal, you don't need energy storage of that tune because your coal cost is so low. But wherever your renewable penetration is high, that is the western region, you will have much more energy storage. Rajasthan, Gujarat, Karnataka, Kerala. So I think that is the proposition that we have been telling government. Let states tell you how much storage they need, and then you put a target on states. If you don't achieve this by 2030 or 2035, I will penalize you. Like RPO we had.
So we're talking about commissioning. What is that one major challenge or a risk that you see when you actually get a tender and by the time you put the project in place?
As far as the BESS project, I see the only challenge for the BESS project is raising equity and debt. That's all.
That's what we are here for. No, on a serious note, I think what I have read is fire is one major risk that I think countries across are grappling with from a battery storage perspective. Do you really see that costs escalating because of that?
Pardon, please? Yeah.
Fire risk.
Pardon?
Fire.
Fire. Okay.
Fire risk.
Hazardous, you're saying.
Hazardous risk.
Yes, of course, like other batteries, like lead acid battery, lithium is also hazardous, but not to the tune of lead acid. And as per the safety regulations, if you're going to apply the safety regulations, I don't think it should be considered as a hazardous, because the protocol of keeping the minimum distance of the battery system with a boundary, having the factor of safety for the equipments attached with, having the factor of safety for the converters. So we can say the BESS systems are considerably safe. We see this view that you are asking the question because of some of the fire accidents we happened with the vehicles. Okay, so that has happened not only because of the nature of the battery, that has happened because of the kind of crash. So if you have any crash with a very huge momentum where something flammable is lying inside your system, maybe it is petrol, maybe it is battery, it is going to have the crash. So you have to look at the kind of crash. So according to me, BESS as a system is a very safe system, but putting battery into vehicle and crashing to the somewhere where it is not supposed to, you are carrying a bomb. So I cannot comment on that. Otherwise, BESS is safe.
Got it. I'll just take one last question before we open the floor for Q&A to the audience. We've just skipped recyclability of batteries as an issue. What are your thoughts on that?
Recycling, as of today, if you look into the business, it is a loss-making business, okay? But we have to turn this to a profit-making business. We have 4 or 5 companies in India who have been working on this. Now, even the government very recently came up with an incentive scheme of 1,500,000 crores for circular economy. Now, what we find is that we don't have, we have been talking of, we don't have mines, we don't have processing power, but that is where we have to catch on this recycling, and from there we can extract out metals or minerals that we require. But then what is happening is, after recycling the battery you make, as of today, it's maybe expensive than your original battery or a little bit tad lesser. Now, when you come to a consumer and ask, here I have a recycled battery and a new battery, if the cost differential is not much, then he will of course go with the new battery, right? So recycling, yes, a lot of effort has been put by government as well as private companies. This has to kind of grow if we have to do the circular economy.
With that, we can take the questions from the audience, please.
Regarding recycling, I would like to say that
sir.
it also depends upon the nature and resources available to the nature. Recycling in China may be expensive affair because the lithium batteries are available at good price. Recycling in India may be opportunity because you have to keep on importing the lithium battery. At the same time, the development comes at a cost. And as your earlier question about the hazardous nature of the battery, so it is hazardous in a nature of pollution. So the time will come that we will have no choice but to use or reuse the battery because there is no way available to discard the battery. Absolutely. So I see a very strong and huge opportunity for the recycling of the battery and taking the lithium, cobalt, manganese extract back to the system. So we will have to come up for recycling nature of the batteries. We have no choice.
No choice, absolutely, absolutely.
Yeah, Mr. Seth, you are an entrepreneur and we know we all Indian businessmen are very smart to take opportunities, but missing the bus in 2022 and we are in 2025, and Mr. Sen, you would also as an alliance understand that what happened to the solar industry, that initially we were all importing every 100% from China. But there were few players who imported from Europe, and they were the people who could sustain themselves over a period of time. The obsolescence risk and the efficiency was much higher. So the question to Mr. Seth is that you said sasta hai, bikta hai, but tikau bikta hai ya nahi? What is the difference between the efficiency of the tikau battery versus the sasta battery? And you believe that is going to be the leader in the pack or otherwise? Please. And Mr. Sen, the question to your alliance on the alliance part is that if there is so much opportunity, why are we missing year on year? We missed in 22, but we missed also in the mining and we missed on the processing. And then we are again missing another point that I had to say. The Korea and Japan, the batteries and the cells are very high quality. And some of the companies in India are already starting importing these cells and the efficiency is much, much higher. Now, as an industry and alliance, are you ready to take that and de-risk yourself from the China? That was over to you, Mr. Sen.
Such industries are basically policy-driven industries. And that comes from the top, maybe from state or maybe from central. So there are certain nations who understand these kind of requirements and they don't look at initially till the pilot projects are coming up that we are delivering at no matter at what cost. So you should have the system where your pilot projects are expensive and routine projects are cheaper. We are looking forward that our pilot projects are cheaper. So that R&D innovation is not coming. So that's why we are missing the bus. And we have experience because my company is working also into green hydrogen. And now when we are working in this segment from last 3 years, all the R&D projects or pilot projects are being bidded with the price which is not possible to bid. And finally, they are not able to complete. And finally, we are again missing the bus. So this is one of the reasons why we're missing the bus. And second is purely about it's a government side, I would not like to comment. Otherwise, we have got a very able think tank. If those think tank would have worked in 2005, 6, 7, 8, 9, then we'll get the fruits after 10 years. So maybe this government is working, so we hope that we'll get the fruits 10 years from now.
Thank you. He told something at the beginning of this conference that China started working on it in 2004, 2005. And today it is reaping its benefit. We can, of course, blame China of its authoritarian rule and so on and so forth. But the truth is, it started at 2004. It demanded its industry to spend on R&D in 2010. From 2017, it put a mandate on its electric vehicle manufacturing industry and its industries. and so on and so forth. Then in 2025, they put off the mandate that, okay, now I let you play as you want to play. Now, I will just give you statistics. In 2023, China's investment in R&D was 2.7 times global investment on R&D. Right? So you ask me that why is India not doing? So our spend in R&D may be in the lower decile of the, if you to look into the global spend, that has been a challenge. Now, second is our government is doing. Our government is, of course, a lot of it is reactionary. Okay, this is happening, then this. This is happening, that this. This has to be proactive. Now, proactiveness comes when your research and development is of that level, that you understand, okay, this may come, I will put in this. Okay, so that is a problem. And we understood it that from solar, we did not act then. So I will just, but the problem is that the stakeholders are many. You have developers going and telling something, you have manufacturers going and telling something. Giving an example of BCD, developers say, oh, I don't need BCD for 3 years. Manufacturers say, without BCD, how can we exist? You bring in BCD from today. So that is the problem. So we have many stakeholders in this game who are demanding multiple things, but they are, of course, not always in tune to what the government wants.
I would say China can provide the top-end batteries also. It depends upon who is the buyer. So they are at par to produce the systems like Korea and China. And second, Korea and China do not provide the lower-end batteries because those people do not go to them.
Just wanted to understand again, I think we have been discussing on cost and realization. And so much variability in cost perspective and ascertaining the cost. So your obviously realization is also going to be down. And you rightly said that fund and finance is a problem, otherwise there is no problem. So funding is going to happen when you have a sustainable revenue stream and clear-cut path of cost that, okay, the variation is in the cost is not there. So is there any thought on that? What is exactly the cost which is going to be or likely to be there in next 5 to 10 years? And what kind of a minimum kind of a revenue or realization can happen? Because it ultimately boils down to what is the net income which you are trying to generate out of this. So that's where the whole tricky game is. Though we are seeing lots of industries, lots of entrepreneurs are coming and following this path. So that's where this question is more important, if you can probably provide some light on that.
I think cost is going to vary with the industry, with the time, with the technology, agnostic kind of requirements, and with the government policy, cost is going to vary. But what I understand that it is more easier for you to understand about the IRR, ROI. That's what you will understand better. So in this industry, for that you have to divide into 3 parts. One is the manufacturing and supply of the DC system, manufacturing and supply of the AC system, and third, integrating those things and being a developer. So these 3 are the separate industry. Am I right? So for all the 3 industry, if you look at the investor, your perspective should be different. Now, as a developer, which is the major part of the investment, they are investing. So developer, as far as they are going to compete in a way that they are able to raise their funds, and as far as they have the funds, it is all subject to the financial game. So we believe at the moment developers are bidding at a quite crazy prices, and for that government is not responsible and China is not responsible. That is their mindset which is responsible, and time will say that ROI, what they are looking forward and what they are bidding for, how they are going to sustain for the 12 years. So you should look at from that how he has bidded, and what is the nature of the product is going to deliver. So that is one part. Numbers I can tell you, people are bidding with the IRR less than 10%. So I think the bank should bid directly. Otherwise, if we are in between and we are raising money from you and we have to give the return, one will not be able to provide the return with this kind of bidding pricing. Because he has to take a lot of risk. So this is the first answer. About manufacturing, ROI can be better than industry. IRR can be better than industry. Come what may, whatever government policies are going to come, if you are a long-term player, because you need to innovate in process, system, manufacturing, supply chain, and everything. And third, AC part, which is already operating very well. So it will also going to have a very huge push for the transformers, breakers, those kind of system. So this industry is very simple. That's why I said only the challenge is equity and debt.
We'll take that one last question.
Sorry. I think just last question, slightly on the R&D front. I think one of the biggest drivers of R&D globally has sort of been collaboration between industry and, higher education institutes, whether that be on research, labs, etc. India as a country, I think, were an order of magnitude behind, people like Korea, Japan, the US, who themselves are probably 2 orders of magnitude behind China. I just want to understand, it's obvious we're headed directionally in the right place, but do you think there is enough momentum in this field of research and collaboration between industry players and associations, along with our educational institutions, to where we'll catch up in the next 5 years, 10 years to meet our goals? Do you think that momentum is there?
Sadly, no. So the research topics which people are researching on and from known industry, known academics, are far away from what we require or what we will require in the coming days. So this is a problem that it's not sync. And it's not sync obviously because we don't talk to each other. Neither does industry talk to academia, neither does academia talk to industry. So what is the requirement? So today if I make a cell of 280 milliamps, I will say I don't need 280 milliamps. I'm already at 628 milliamps, right? So that is the problem. What is the requirement? That is, unfortunately, funds are available, but that funds are being utilized in something which is not required.
So I guess a follow-up then, what do you think, we need to do to fix that? Is there anything underway,
Yes.
that you're hopeful about, or is there something that you just see as a blocker?
No. To be very honest, IIT Bombay is the academics, IIT, which works heavily on battery storage, apart from IIT Delhi. We see a lot of good work happening in these and funding available, but not to the tune to which the requirement is.
Further, I would like to say, as he rightly said, that we have been researching, simple answer that we are researching what is already searched. What is there in industry, it is 5 to 7 years ahead. So maybe our researchers is not having adequate fund and size to do those kind of research. That is the first part. So I don't see any dearth of the research capability. I see the dearth of research ecosystem. That is number 1. Number 2, we know the top 5 companies of India into energy sector, okay? Now you just try to work out that out of total procurement or development of their projects, how many percentage or how many numbers they have supported or bought from India or developed from India. I think number will be 0. They are buying what is available, so even they do not have the obligation. They might be making huge numbers, but they do not have obligation. So whatever is research, our industry is not picking up or taking up. And as far as I'll say about the solar, or I'll talk about the battery. Capability-wise, I have no doubt. And third thing I'll say, very, very important. This battery, green hydrogen, and even solar, those things were being researched in American universities and some of the European universities, especially into Germany, Switzerland. 60% of the students who were doing the work were from China and India. 60%, I'll say 70%. Those, out of the 70%, maybe 40, 50% or 60% were Chinese, they have taken back route with their papers to China in time. And our students who were having the knowledge, they have not found the routes to put up their things into Indian industry. I don't know why. But I think we are smart enough to get it back. We have again missed the bus. Am I right?
Well, on that note, I would like to thank our privileged guests here. It was a privilege to host you, and thank you for a wonderful masterclass on realism and optimism.